Well, it's official. The 1998 Nintendo 64 classic, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, is getting a brand new remake. It's coming to Nintendo Switch 2 later this year, and even though we've seen very little of it, it already looks utterly gorgeous. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda series, and the almost 30th anniversary of this entry in particular, making now as good a time as any to bring this masterpiece back out to shine. But there are a few even bigger reasons why it's the right move right now. Here's why 2026 is the perfect time to remake Ocarina of Time. Since you're watching an IGN video, you already know and love video games, so I'm gonna save you the lengthy recap of why Ocarina of Time is so incredible. But let's do the basics. It's regularly near the top of every greatest Zelda game of all time and greatest video game of all time lists. It revolutionized what a third-person action-adventure game could look like, adding a whole new dimension to the rock-solid groundwork laid down by its 2D predecessor, A Link to the Past. Ocarina's time-jumping story is full of heart and humor, regularly engaging in epic conflicts, and between its meticulously crafted puzzle box dungeons and grand sweeping vistas brimming with secrets and mysteries, it forever raised the bar for not only the Zelda series, but the medium of video games as a whole. Okay, so maybe that was a bit of a lengthy recap, but you get it. I really can't just talk about this game without piling on praise every chance I get. After all, IGN's Per Schneider gave it a 10 out of 10 back in 1998, and in 2026, I wholeheartedly still agree with that score. I have fond memories of saving up for Ocarina of Time for months when I was a kid, buying it the day it was released, and sitting on a curb in a Toys R Us parking lot, poring over the manual while waiting for my dad to pick me up and bring me home, where I'd go on to spend countless hours exploring Hyrule. It always and forever will be an outstanding game, which I cherish dearly. But it's also a game many of us have played already, and so you're probably wondering exactly what Nintendo could do to differentiate this version of Ocarina of Time from every other version it has shipped since 1998. This seminal Zelda game is a known quantity to most older gamers, having been re-released multiple times. It's even already been remade back in 2011 for the Nintendo 3DS. So how could a Switch 2 remake possibly improve on that? Well, to potentially answer that question, look no further than the recently revealed and soon to be released Switch 2 remake of Star Fox 64. Not only is Star Fox also a beloved N64 game that has been ported to various Nintendo consoles, it also got a Nintendo 3DS remake in 2011. Like the Ocarina of Time 3DS remake, it's largely stuck to the original game's blueprint while adding brand new graphics and dual-screen features. And while the Star Fox franchise has never quite come close to Zelda's popularity, meaning its sequels have been few and far between comparatively, the parallels across Ocarina of Time and Star Fox 64's journey from the N64 to the 3DS to the Nintendo Switch 2 are entirely uncoincidental.
Do a barrel roll!
Star Fox on Switch 2 has a completely overhauled art style with stunning new graphics, fully re-recorded voices, sound effects, and music, and it's getting tons of new features, modes, and additional bells and whistles that make it impossible to mistake for Star Fox's earlier outings on the 3DS and N64. Sure, that remake also boasted visual improvements over the original, but video game visuals are a moving target, and seeing the 3DS and Switch 2 remakes of Star Fox side by side will show you that Nintendo isn't just phoning it in and making a quick buck off of nostalgia. Looking at our first official glimpses of the Ocarina remake revealed so far, it seems like it's definitely getting a similar treatment. A brand new, fully voiced narrator introduces the story, and our fairyless elf, I know, he's not really an elf, named Link, as hand-woven tapestries fade to reveal a beautifully recreated shot of when we first see our hero in the original game, now with vibrant lighting and tons of meticulous little details to flesh out his cold but cozy little house in a tree. Some of these details are present in the original game, and some of them aren't, but it all just feels familiar. There's not much to go on just yet, despite the game coming to Switch 2 at some point in the next 6 months, but the debut trailer is already telling us that Nintendo isn't simply improving some textures and remastering some songs. So why take two N64 classics that already got 3DS remakes and remake them yet again for Switch 2 this year? Well, for starters, those remakes were designed entirely around a dual-screen handheld device that most people don't have access to in 2026. Not only is original 3DS hardware becoming increasingly more expensive as the years go by, and the nostalgia-driven aftermarket for old video games continues to grow, but putting dual-screen games on a single-screen console like the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't as easy as it looks. It's why so many fantastic DS and 3DS games are stuck on those systems, never to be ported to modern Nintendo hardware. Notice how you can't play the excellent The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds on Switch? Both it, the Ocarina and Star Fox remakes, and countless other gems are games designed for tiny low-res dual-screen devices with touch inputs on the second screen, and porting them to a single-screen device like the Switch 2 would require the entire game to be reworked from the ground up. And if you're going to put in that much effort to port a 3DS remake of an N64 game to the Nintendo Switch 2, you might as well just go all in and remake the game again, right? Here's me manifesting a similar treatment for Link Between Worlds, and hey listen, maybe even Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks while I'm at it. The Switch 2 has a touchscreen after all. I absolutely adore the Zelda franchise, but the massive modern open world Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, saw a 6-year gap between their releases. That's despite the fact that Tears used so many of Breath of the Wild's assets, systems, and locations. This gigantic sandbox take on the Zelda formula is clearly the blueprint going forward, which means, like most big video game sequels these days, a 5 or 6 year wait between sequels seems like the foreseeable future. That's a pretty untenable stretch of time for a franchise to go without any notable game releases, which is why, since Breath of the Wild launched in 2017, we've seen smaller Zelda games like Cadence of Hyrule, the Link's Awakening remake, and Echoes of Wisdom launch, keeping Zelda fans occupied during those long waits. If waiting 6 or more years between big open-world Zelda games is the new normal now, that means we're at least 3 years away from the next mainline Zelda game, and an Ocarina of Time remake is the perfect thing to help hold us over. And it's much easier to make, too. After all, the entire blueprint for it has existed for almost 30 years. Now, while a remake would be the perfect solution to that long wait between sequels, there's also the fact that the Legend of Zelda franchise is about to have a gigantic big screen moment on April 30th, 2027, just a few months after the Ocarina of Time remake is set to be released. A live-action Zelda movie is hitting theaters, which will introduce a whole new audience to this series for the very first time. Having a stunning new remake of the most iconic Zelda game on store shelves and at the top of the Nintendo Switch 2's eShop in time for the movie's premiere makes perfect sense. After all, that's exactly what happened this year when Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 got Nintendo Switch remasters 6 months before the Super Mario Galaxy movie premiered. Kids saw the Mario movie, wanted a Mario game to play, and Nintendo made sure they had something ready, even if it was something many of us played ages ago. Okay, imagine being a 10-year-old who walks out of the Zelda movie, heads home, grabs their Nintendo Switch 2, and plays Ocarina of Time for the first time in their lives. It's hard not to be envious of experiencing a moment like that, even if I definitely never want to be 10 years old again. I did, however, just play through The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess with my 8-year-old daughter, and seeing her experience a classic Zelda game for the first time was magical. It also gave me a good excuse to play it again, even if I had already done that when it originally released on the Nintendo Wii, and again when it got an HD remaster on the Nintendo Wii U. Twilight Princess is a fantastic Zelda game that still holds up, and after rolling credits, we had plans to play Ocarina of Time next, but now I think I'll wait for the remake, which will allow her to see one of the greatest games of all time at its very best, ideally. It's been almost 3 decades since the original game launched, and it seems pretty likely that a sizable number of people who played it back then now have children of their own who would play it with them. If only there was a Zelda game about experiencing how the world changes from the perspective of a child and then the perspective of an adult. Maybe if he had some sort of instrument, maybe like an ocarina. Of course, it's not all magical when it comes to remakes, remasters, releases, and the endless other ways these terms can cross over when revitalizing an old thing that people love. Across all forms of media, remakes of beloved classics are historically a tricky balance of trying to modernize something ancient while honoring its original vision, and Ocarina of Time will be no exception. Should Nintendo make Hyrule feel bigger, since present-day gamers trained on massive open-world games expect a grand sandbox to play in? Or should they retain the scale of the original because the whole game was designed around that? Should they streamline the notoriously cumbersome water temple even further than they did in the 3DS remake? Or keep it exactly as it used to be? And what about including content from previous Ocarina of Time releases, like the awesome Master Mode, which remixes the dungeon layouts along with additional tweaks and challenges? Expectations for a project like this are understandably through the roof, and while the Ocarina of Time and Star Fox remakes on 3DS largely played it safe, Nintendo made a few changes in the Majora's Mask 3DS remake, such as altering some boss fights and the overall save mechanic that weren't as well received. As you all know, the now notorious Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition films added largely unnecessary content to a beloved series of classics, leading to many fans rejecting them and teaming up to restore the original versions and plead for them to be released officially. But video games also see less than ideal remakes all the time. For every Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill 2 remake that knocks it out of the park, truly love both of those games, there are equally as many video game remakes and remasters that drop the ball entirely, like the 13 remake, the GTA remasters, and Nintendo's own Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story remake. And those are games that actually made it to the finish line. For instance, remember the Prince of Persia remake? Its reveal was so poorly received, Ubisoft delayed the game indefinitely, and after half a decade in development, the project got axed entirely. It's tough to say how much the Ocarina of Time remake will or won't mess with the established formula, but either way, with a game that people have loved for 30 years and one that people will also be playing for the first time this year, it certainly won't please everyone. We'll find out for sure later this year, and we'll always have the original and the last remake to play if it doesn't reach our lofty expectations. Either way, I'm excited to see more of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake and experience one of my favorite games of all time, again, in a way it's never looked before. It's awesome that younger generations will get to play this game as if it's a brand new Zelda game, because for many of them, it will be. So what do you think about the Ocarina of Time remake? Are you excited to play through Ocarina of Time again or play it for the first time? Or do you wish Nintendo should just leave their classic games alone and focus on creating new experiences on Switch 2? Let me know in the comments below, and for all things Zelda, stick with IGN.